Once you have your site defined in Dreamweaver CS6, you can begin creating web pages that comprise your website. In addition to using a predefined layout to do so, you can also create web pages from scratch, which is what we're going to do here. We're going to do that, and we're also going to add some descriptive metadata to the page as well. So let's get started. I'm beginning this video with Dreamweaver CS6 already open on my computer, and I'm going to go ahead and come up here to the File menu, and I'm going to choose New. And in the New Document dialog, we are going to explore this dialog a little bit more. We're going to go to the Blank Page category under HTML, and I'm going to choose None. Because I don't want to use a predefined layout, I want to build this from scratch based on my own specifications. Now, in Dreamweaver, down here at the bottom, we have a Doc Type drop-down menu. And if you click on this drop-down menu, it's going to show you quite a few options for you to choose from. Now, when you install Dreamweaver, there are some defaults that are configured within the program. And as you can see here, the default doc type is what's called XHTML 1.0 transitional. Now, going over all of the different options here are a little bit beyond the scope of this training session. But what I want to point out here is that these represent different iterations of the HTML and XHTML specifications. And the current proposed specification is HTML5. Now, although going over HTML5 is beyond the scope of what we're trying to cover here, we are going to choose HTML5 as a starting point. Now, if you're not sure which doc type you're supposed to choose here, I suggest that you contact your administrator or somebody who's in charge of your website to give you some direction as far as which doc type would be best for you to use for your website. If you're starting from scratch, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use HTML5. But if you're building web pages that are part of an existing website, or especially part of a content management system, you may want to double check with somebody to ensure that you use a doc type that's going to be compatible with that system. So once again, I am going to choose HTML5 in this example, and then I'm going to go ahead and click the Create button. And that's going to create a new web page for me to work from. Now, this automatically flipped over to Code View, and if for whatever reason you're in Design View or even Split View, just go ahead and click on Code View up here in the upper left-hand corner. And I always like to point out that when Dreamweaver creates a new web page for you, you can see that there's a certain amount of code that is automatically written for you. And that's because these are the building blocks of a web page. A web page is composed of a couple of main areas here. This first portion is the doc type, and this is the doc type declaration, and this is Dreamweaver's way of announcing the type of document that you're working with, and this tells all the web browsers how to render the page. Now, when it comes to the HTML page itself, you have one main tag called HTML, and everything within the web page falls between that opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag. Within there, we have a head section, and this is all descriptive information about the page. Nothing that you put up here is really going to show on the web page itself, but it does contain very useful and descriptive information that helps web browsers and search engines identify the page itself. Now, the web page itself is going to be contained within the opening and closing body tags. And this is where the bulk of your web page is going to appear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Design View. And the first thing that you want to do when you're building your own web pages is you want to change the title of your web page. And this is probably one of the most common mistakes that people make. And the reason I point this out is that the title is used by search engines and other elements to identify your web page. And I want to show you something real quickly. I have a web browser here, and I just went to the Google homepage. And I'm going to do a search for untitled document. And when I do that search, you're going to notice that there are 49 million results that show up as untitled document. Now, I'm done with this. I can go ahead and move this back over here. But the point is that everybody forgets to enter a specific title for the web page, and this is very useful. Like I said, Google uses this to identify your page, and it really identifies your page as what it is. So we're going to change the title here. Dreamweaver gives us a nice field that we can just change this title. And the title of our website is called Jummy. So I'm going to type Jummy and then I'll just put a hyphen, and I'm going to type the Tasty Restaurant. And that gives my web page a descriptive title that will be used again by search engines and other components as well. Now, if I go to code view, again, this is the great thing about Dreamweaver, you'll notice that currently it still says untitled document. And that's because I haven't committed this change up here. So if I go ahead and press return on my keyboard, it will commit that change. The cursor is no longer blinking in there. And you can see the code has updated in the code view. And this is really the crux of how Dreamweaver works. You can make changes in code or design view, and the change is going to update in both views at the same time. So that looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to switch back to design view. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to enter some meta information. And meta information is additional descriptive information about my web page. So up here in my insert bar, and I should point out that your insert bar could be located over here. It doesn't really matter. But I had moved my insert bar over here. And I'll just show you how that's done. If you still have your insert bar located over here like this, you can move it to the top if you wish by clicking on the tab and just dragging until you get a blue line as you see here. And when I release, it's going to dock that insert panel or insert bar up here at the top. Now, what I'm going to do here is in the Common tab, I can move my cursor over these icons and it tells me what these are. And I'm going to move over here to the Head category. And that allows me to insert some meta information into my web page. So I'm going to click on the arrow and I'm going to choose Keywords. And what this allows me to do is enter a couple of keywords that describe my website. So I'm going to go ahead and type steak, fish, seafood, I'll type restaurant, and how about food? That looks pretty good. And these keywords should be descriptive words about your website. As a general rule, I would say don't go more than 10 keywords and try to keep them very descriptive about what your website is. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And we're really not going to see anything right here. But if we switch to code view, we can see that a new meta tag has been added. And in the name equals, the name is the attribute, we have all of the different features that we've added. So we have an attribute called name, value is keyword, then another attribute for content, and then the keywords themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more keywords here. I'm going to go ahead and come over here to the Head category. We'll click on the arrow, and let's choose description. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here, Jummy, the world's greatest restaurant. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And once again, that automatically inserted another area here. Now, you should pay attention a little bit here because when I inserted this, it inserted at my cursor location. So what happened here is it actually broke. Our meta information is actually incorrect right now. We have a meta tag, and then it closes here, but then this one doesn't really open. So what we really need to do here is in front of this, we can type an opening bracket, we'll type meta, and then just put a space. Now, one of the reasons why I did that is because I was in code view. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and delete that one that I just entered. So I'll go ahead and delete that. Let's switch to design view this time. And now if I go to the Head category and I choose description, I'm going to type this again. And I'll go ahead and click OK. When I switch to code view, you can see that now it's entered properly. So this is one of the downsides to Dreamweaver, just something to pay attention to, because if you're currently in code view, it's going to insert it wherever your cursor is. And when you're in design view, however, it does a little bit more intelligent identification and makes sure that it inserts it properly. Now, one last thing I'm going to do here is we should save our page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up here to the File menu, and I'm going to choose Save. And we're going to give our page a name, and because I've never saved it before, it is doing a save as. So for the name of this page, I'm just going to call this creating_page. I'm not too concerned with the naming convention we're using right now because we're just creating some preliminary files at this point. But because we've defined a site, I can come down here and click on the site root button. And that's going to take me to my site folder, which is really, really convenient. And that's why we define sites in the site management area over here. So we'll call this creating page. I'm going to click the save button. And now you can see over here we have that file that's been created called creating_page.html. Dreamweaver makes creating web pages quite easy, and because it ensures that all the necessary code is written into each page to make it a valid HTML file, it really ensures that a lot of the errors that you might run into are alleviated. Feel free to create some of your own pages and practice building the pages of a website on your own.